What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be doing a front-end tutorial, and we're going to be looking at page events, and it's going to be using CSS, HTML, and some really concise JavaScript. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a page that has two buttons, two paragraphs, and when you click one button, it puts new text instantly. When you click the other button, it appends a new element that fades in the same way as they do initially when the page loads. And I'm going to show you the difference basically between the instant showing up and the fading in, and what causes it basically. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make a new folder, and we're going to call it whatever we want, front end tut1 for me. We're going to open it in Visual Studio Code. And we're going to get to work. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create index.html. With that, we're going to create style.css, and then we're going to emit that, and then we're going to import link rel style sheet href style.css. So it's going to link our style sheet, and then the first thing that we are going to be doing is creating our background container. So div id BG image is how I like to do that typically. And what we're going to do with that is we're actually going to be pulling in an image, and you can get this one on Pexels. I believe I found it under lights. Basically, it looks like this, and you can use any background though. It's pretty arbitrary. So what we're going to be doing with that is here we might as well write the whole thing up before we get into our styles. So we're going to make this on one line because it's just going to be an absolute element that just sits in the background with the z-index of 0. And we'll see that in a second. So the first thing we're going to do after that is div id equals, I keep doing that, equals box, and that's going to contain our application basically. So we're going to have an h1, we're just going to title it front end page events demo. And from there, we're going to have a P with a class of txt and an ID of txt1. And then inside of there, we're going to have a lorem paragraph just for, arbitrary text. And while we're at it, we're going to open this with our live server. So right here we can see, right now we just have the paragraph in that, no style yet. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to do another P. We're going to do same class, txt, id, txt2, and we're going to do another lorem paragraph in there. Okay, and then we're going to have one more P with a class of txt and an ID of txt3. And this is just going to be test3. Alright, so we're going to have, right under this, we're going to have a button on click equals change top, and it's going to say click me. And then we're going to have one under here too, on click equals change bot. Click me. Right, and we're going to now open, or we're going to do our CSS before we do the script. So first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to cancel out our margin and our padding. Makes it all, able to access in each individual element. So BG image, this is our background, excuse me, image container. We're going to make that the height of the whole document basically. We're gonna do position absolute, background URL, lights.jpg is what our thing is called. We're gonna give it properties of no repeat, center, cover. It's gonna look nice in the background there. Opacity 0.5. Z index is -1. It's gonna make sure that it stays in the background. Oh, I didn't write JPEG. I was like, where'd it go? Alright, cool. So now that's going to be in the background, and it's going to be centered no matter, or depending on the viewport rather. So you can see it scaling there. And that's a basic way to just do backgrounds, is this method with the no repeat, center, cover. That's how I like to do it. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to do button, we're just going to give this font size 1.2 rem, make it a little bigger. Padding 0.5 rem. And now we're going to do button hover. This is actually meant to show you basically with transitions what you can do on like hover and different colon properties of elements. You can add a duration of the transition, so let's say 1700 ms, and let's say what we want to have happen is we want to do font size 1.5 rem, let's say. If we just want to increase the font size by 1 rem, it'll take 1700 milliseconds to increase from 1.2 to 1.5, so it'll look like that. And that's how you basically do kind of basic animations, and you could do it in any way you want, but this is just basically an example of one way you could do it. So anyway, let's do box. We're going to do text align center, font size, we'll just do 24 pixels, z index 1. That's going to basically set it up all nice, and then what we want is box p padding 1 rem, and that just makes it so that the elements are further away from the walls in the container, because the box is our container of all of our elements, if you remember. So if you want to contain elements like that, and then margin is like the outside. So padding is the inner margin, margin is the outer margin, basically, is the way to think about that. So dot txt was the class of our paragraph, so we're going to do animation name fade, animation duration 2 seconds, and the duration is just like transition, except animation is for keyframes, which we will look at in just a sec here. We're just going to do txt3 the ID. ID is a hashtag, class is dot, and obviously you can have both a class and an ID, but ID is easier for accessing basically in JavaScript, so that's why I gave them both, and we'll see why in just a sec. So we're going to do display none, and then the test is going to fade in because it is the class basically, and the ones that come up instantly are going to be, oh yeah, I have to put this right here, sorry. If an element like this that you have preset that's called test3 has the class of text, it will have the property of the animation name. So when it's rendered from a display none to an actual display, it will animate, and you'll see just in a second. So keyframes fade, and then what you want to do in keyframes is you can go like this if you wanted to, 0%, you could do 25%, you could do 50%, and until 100 basically. But if you just set it at 0, it'll automatically go to the default at 100%. So if you do opacity 0, it'll by default at 100% hit 100 opacity. So you don't really need to do anything beyond 0 if you're trying to look for just a sort of a flush animation. Alright, so we're going to go back, and the final thing we're going to do here, after I get a drink here, is we're going to create our script. So underneath the box, we're going to do script, and we're going to do function change top, and function change bot. And in each one, we're going to do let p equals document get element by ID, and we're going to do text1 in this, and then in this one we're going to do text2, and this is going to grab each of our elements up here, and then we're going to do p inner HTML for this one equals new text, and we're just going to test that, watch this. So this is the one that automatically just changed without the animation, and then this is the bottom one that we're going to make animate. So we're going to do p style display equals none. So notice how we're not touching the inner HTML, we're just making sure this first paragraph disappears, and then this one, well, it's rendered to display none, so it's disappearing, and then this one's going to be rendered to display block, which is the default. So sorry, excuse me, document get element by ID txt3 dot style display equals block. And then watch this. So this one, boom, instant change. This one, oh wait, what'd I do? Change bot txt3 test3. Hold on. Oh, document is capital. Okay, I was wondering what just happened. So watch this. Instant, fade, boom, perfect. So that's the basics of page change events, and hopefully you got something out of this.